things are just getting underway. Is this any different from any of the previous 25 conventions? It's just politicians, bureaucrats, and lobbyists meeting to, I don't know, continue the process. It's like the Arab-Israeli peace process for so long. It was about the process, not about the peace. What's your take on the 26th meeting of these global warming bureaucrats?
Well, it's interesting to see, leaders seem to be going in very different directions. You have, obviously, China, who is, they're clearly not taking it too seriously. We've all seen that they plan to massively expand coal production in the coming years. So obviously undoing completely anything Canada does. We could, ruin our entire economy, shut down the whole country, and, turn off all the lights, and China would still undo anything we did, right? So China doesn't take it too seriously. Other countries, I think I saw India is saying that they're going to go carbon neutral by, or net zero by 2070. I mean, okay, that's quite a long ways off. So, but of course, then you have other leaders like Justin Trudeau, and they're going all in, and they're willing to sacrifice their own countries and their own economic growth and their own national unity, so he can get a few nice sound bites and look like he's, part of saving the world, supposedly. So there's really a big divergence there, and Trudeau, unfortunately, is talking about, shutting down or capping our emissions in the oil and gas sector, which would, of course, be devastating for the sector and for our economy. He's going all in on that, and that's going to be very bad for Canada.
Yeah, we got a clip of that, and I think it's just classic. He's standing in front of the UK flag because it is in Glasgow. So I'm glad it's a UK flag. I mean, a couple of years ago, that would have been the European Union flag, which is just the worst flag. But there's also a United Nations flag. So here it is, Justin Trudeau in front of the UN flag at a foreign summit promising to cap production of oil and gas and then slowly bring it down to zero, a speech that could have been written by OPEC or Russia. They must be so delighted. Take a look.
We know pollution pricing is key to getting emissions down while getting innovation up and running. Our carbon price trajectory is one of the most globally ambitious ones, and it's rising to $170 a ton in 2030. This is a meaningful price on pollution designed not just to make life cleaner, but also make life more affordable and less expensive for Canadians. I call on other countries to do the same. Just as globally we've agreed to a minimum corporate tax, we must work together to ensure it is no longer free to pollute anywhere in the world. That means establishing a shared minimum standard for pricing pollution. Of course, what's even better than pricing emissions is ensuring that they don't happen in the first place. Which brings me to my next major commitment. We'll cap oil and gas sector emissions today and ensure they decrease tomorrow at a pace and scale needed to reach net zero by 2050.
Well, there you have it. Justin Trudeau loves declaring war on Canadian industry. I don't know why he wouldn't promote Canada's natural gas. We're one of the largest natural gas producers in the world. It's one of the cleanest burning fuels. If you're worried about carbon dioxide, and I am not personally, but some people are, shouldn't we develop our natural gas, or LNG as it's sometimes called, to replace China's appetite for coal, India's appetite for coal? Instead, he just wants to shut it all down. I don't know if he actually means it. I sort of think he does. What do you think?
Yeah, it's almost taken on in a strange way a kind of religious aspect. There's something almost faith-based lately about the environmental movement, and it's basically, it's like, purity versus, things that are dirty, right? So Canadian energy apparently is dirty now, right? So it's untouchable. You can't have anything to do with that. It must be punished. It's evil. It's terrible. And so, when that kind of thinking predominates, it's not really a logical discussion at this point, right? You have people, I think, like ourselves who would say, well, if you look at the numbers, Canada contributes very little to global emissions, and our energy is often cleaner, environmental standards higher, labor standards are higher than many of the countries that will simply step in and replace any production we don't produce. So we're not changing emissions at all in the world. We're lowering labor standards if other countries produce it. We're lowering environmental standards if other countries produce it. And then we just lose money, and other countries, often dictatorships and authoritarian states, end up gaining money. So there's no real, obviously, net benefit for the world. It just hurts Canada and benefits other people. But it hasn't really become, it's not really a logical discussion anymore, right? So people who are completely convinced that they're on a grand crusade to save the planet, and they're going to cast out all the dirty energy, that you can't really talk to people in a logical manner when that's their way of thinking.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.